Well, Danny, we sold out, but we came back because we forgot that before we got to averagely successful podcast for someone else. We had
John, we are so back. I think it's important to note that, like, we're here.
We're here.
It's time for the old catchphrases. It's time for the old razzle dazzle.
It's been a fucking while, but we don't have a producer. We don't have an editor. I have to hit my own buttons and look, I'm going to do it right first time. It's motherfucking Mob Rules. We can swear, we can swear, we can say naughty words.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm all about it.
Let me just turn that music back up here as I prove why we need an editor and a producer.
True.
Welcome to Mob Rules. My name is John. I'm joined, as always, of course, by
Danny.
Oh, dude, and you did it as well. I'm so happy. Like, you did the proper Danny introduction. I was worried for a second. It has been a long-ass time since we've been here. If you are a first-time listener to the show, for one, why? For two, also why? Yeah. But about a couple months ago now, Danny and I were tapped by Papa Val of the Frontline Gaming Network to host their Tuesday night show, Grim After Dark, which we have been doing weekly for the past 6 weeks. I think it's 6. Is it 5? I think it's bruh. It's so many.
It's been many a week. Let's say it's been way more than that. I feel like it's been 8 weeks. Easy. It's
been many a week of creating weekly content here. So sadly, our Mob Rules duties, it's good, have fallen to the wayside. Yeah. And then I was like,
joke, folks.
Damn it. So, like, okay, we had a multitude of factors. So, one, Grim After Dark took up a whole, shit ton of our time. Two, Danny decided he wanted to be Ally McBeal and drove halfway across the country to start law school.
I've lost so much weight since I've been here.
Like pencil skirt, like the whole thing. It was just
amazing.
Like a whole cavalcade. We went to Charity Hammer, which I'm sure we'll talk about later on in some of the behind the scenes stuff. Like so much has gone on, but we have to record. GW was kind enough to send us review copies of Thousand Suns and Grey Knights. However, we didn't receive them until after the books had actually been released. And Kill Team. So we haven't even got to those, which we'll go into maybe a little bit later. They're all amazing. I have spent a stupid amount of money on a brand new Grey Knights army, which we'll probably go into later on. But yeah,
I'm getting 1,000 Suns. I mean, I'm gonna complete 1,000 Suns army. That's my goal. I'm hyped for that.
I think generally your goal with most things is to complete an army.
I already sold 1,000 Suns army. I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, and having one back again would be fine, just fine.
I don't think you're allowed to say anymore that you're starting an army because I think the assumption is that you already have it.
Can I say restart? Does that work? We'll go with that.
It's a soft reboot of your Thousand Suns army. Talking of and just by the way, for listeners here, I have zero format. I haven't just sat in and bullshitted with Danny for a while, so this is going to be essentially what this is here. Man or Grey Knights spindly as fuck. Holy cow.
They're real little too. Do you mean the halberds and stuff break pretty easy?
Yeah, I've assembled a bunch of interceptors. And not only do interceptors, because I want to be a little special person, I want them all to have either halberds or as Taylor told us, the staff of 5-up invuln CPs. Mm-hmm. So they all have long poles, but their backpacks also, for reasons, just have 4 little sticks poking out of them.
They do. That are extremely fragile.
They are. I've already broken 2. Luckily, I can't so one of the lots I got came with a bunch of sprues from that Strike Squad kit. So there was a bunch of interceptor backpacks. So I've replaced 9 interceptor backpacks.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty prone to breaking. I know that I've broken the shit out of some as well. So
It's okay.
I feel for you, man.
I only have 30 now, so as is tradition.
You have 30 interceptors?
I have 30 interceptors.
Wow.
So like the list I'm building to is kind of going around from talking to some people who actually play Grey Knights, and is really like a grandmaster and a baby carrier, because as much as I gave that model shit before, after I built one, God, it's amazing. I love it so much. Like not even
cool. Yeah.
not even sarcastically, I love that model. It's great. And then the chaplain and Terminator armor, which I had to order off of eBay, which thank you GW for not having a Terminator chaplain available at all.
Did you which one did you get? The one with the combi Melta?
No, I got the one with the all of the ribbons and skulls on the front of them. That was the
there's like there are two that are like that.
Oh,
there's one that's holding the Stormbolter out straight on the side of him.
It's that guy.
And then there's nice.
Yeah.
Was he expensive? Did you get a good deal?
I got
I feel like that model was expensive.
45.
Well, that's not bad.
It's not terrible. It ranged from like 30 to 80. So like I picked kind of a good mid-range ones, and we hope. So one of those guys, Caldor Drago, because the model looks so derpy. Yeah. That is the only. I mean, his rules are great, but that model looks bizarrely just. It's the face.
So So he comes with a helmet instead if you want, and I recommend that. And the other thing I did to make him look a little bit less stupid was I pointed the head looking the other direction, so he's looking like from behind his shield. He looks like a little bit more defensive.
He's not hiding from a blast. Yeah, it's.
Well, I mean, he is hiding. I mean, my guy's absolutely hiding, but like. He's not derpily pointing with the Titan sword like, hey, go over here. Let's get some warp dust. Like.
So
as you would expect.
The one I got, because I got a second hand, didn't come with a helmeted head. Okay. So I'm probably just going to I'll probably just grab a standard head from the Terminator's crew.
Go. Grab a Paladin head. I mean, you got tons extra.
So many Terminators. It's just, so many there. Then just 3 units of 5 strikes with halberds. Each one has a staff, because Taylor was every 5 people must have a staff or die.
I think it's a good rule.
So, I mean, it's pretty good. I don't want to die, so it's pretty fair. So 3 units of those, and then 3 units of 10 interceptors with 8 halberds and 2 staves, or staves,
nice.
I guess. And then 2 Nemesis Dread Knights.
Nice.
Sight cannon and silencer. And then one of them has a sword. Not both, because no one has points for that.
Ain't nobody got 15.
And nobody got. And 2 rhinos. Oh no, 1 rhino. Sorry, 1 rhino, because I wanted the chaplain.
Okay.
So I'm excited. I'm getting that built up. I think that's going to be like a great starting point for me. This Saturday coming, and both of us had tournaments last week, but this Saturday coming, I have a tournament at Tier 1 Cards and Games. This is, I think, going to be my last hooray for a while for Death Guard. So just really trying to get those Grey Knights up and get them prepped. It's been about 3 years, I think, that I've been like mono Death Guard.
It feels like 3 years, John. It's I think it's just been 9th edition.
It was, but no, because I started with Psychic about 2 months before the Psychic Awakening.
Oh yeah, that's right. You did start in 8th with Psychic Awakening.
Yeah, so I started about 2 months before Psychic Awakening with Death Guard.
Because War of the Spider was the second to last book.
Right. Yeah. So it's been a long time, and really like the list I've been playing, which we'll talk about later, is really kind of burnt me out on Death Guard right now, where I just want a small army. It's a little kind of thing.
Especially the Death Guard you've been playing is like super model intensive, right?
God,
like it's got so many poxwalkers.
It's people have been saying it's a really brainless list, but it's really not. No. I have to think so goddamn hard every game. And
model placement is so important, and if you fuck up some stuff, like you can get trapped, and like there's a bunch of things you don't want.
Like I did in my first game against Thousand Sons at the tournament. But aside from that, Danny, what have you been up to? I've been rambling on for what feels like 9 minutes and 15 seconds.
Holy fuck, John! It's been a whole 10 minutes of ramble, and like I'll tell you what, I have been working on AdMech. And I was working on AdMech for a team tournament that I was that John and I were going to do.
We were very excited about
Las Vegas team tournament, but with Delta hitting so hard, and like for me, so just to some background, like I just started law school, right, and which has been super time intensive, and one thing that happened to me is I think I got really bad food poisoning the Sunday night before my first class. So it literally felt like my stomach, like I had ingested battery acid and all the things that come with that. I don't need to describe that.
A little pre-law school Taco Bell to calm the nerves.
Yeah. I think it was actually the goat curry that I got, which was a mistake.
Where would you get goat curry?
I'm an adventurous man, John.
You are.
Anyway.
You are.
So, but not that adventurous ever again, I'll tell you what.
All of my curries will come from animals that I'm aware of.
Yeah, all of my curries will not come from the place that I ordered from that. Anyway, so I so I was sick, but like some of my symptoms were pretty, like I had a fever and I had some other I had achiness and that kind of stuff. And those are all symptoms of COVID. So I actually had to miss the first 2 days of class to wait to get a rapid COVID test, to which I had to drive 45 minutes each way to go to a place where I could get a rapid COVID test.
Oh, well, the place you are in the country right now is pretty backwaters. They don't believe in COVID. So you have to drive to a county where it has.
Luckily, here at the school, they take it pretty seriously, which is good. And like they tell you, don't come to class if you're sick. So I had to miss the first 2 days. And like for me to take the risk of being positive and then having to go through this again is like, and maybe even have to do 14 days of quarantine is like way too much extra work for me to have to worry about for school. Like I'm not personally frightened for myself necessarily, because I'm fully vaccinated. I'll get a booster shot as soon as I'm able to.
Hell yeah.
Like all of that, like I'm ready to go. But the inconvenience of that is not worth it to me. Plus, obviously there's the societal benefits too of like not getting somebody who's vulnerable infected and them dying. Like that's kind of sucky. Also not like spraying it on the airplane and stuff like that. So kind of the team decision was fairly unanimous to where people are like, well, it's not really worth it for us. So we all kind of decided to drop the event.
Yeah.
Which is too bad. I've spent a lot of money building this AdMech list, like working hard, making sure we get it out and like getting it painted. Like I've worked very hard to even get 3 colors on it, and building everything. Cause I built like 100, like about 100 Scutari. I've built like all these chicken walkers, like all of these Sicarans. Like I've really built like a huge list. So that's kind of what I've been working on as far as hobby stuff goes, but I'm getting kind of tired of playing it right now, so I'm thinking I might try something different. We'll see. I'm still waiting for some of my stuff to get down here. It'll definitely be nice to kind of switch things up and maybe play an army that's a little bit less model intensive.
Well, what are you going to do now that you're in a part of the country where you don't just have store credit to go out and buy new armies from your tournament wins?
Well, we can talk about tournament wins when we talk about our tournaments from this last weekend.
Dang.
But not for me.
No,
but
not for me either. Well, we'll talk about it. What if?
But
like
the prize
the
support was good. I'll tell you that.
Oh, hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I've been working on them. I've also got my Dark Angels, so I might play Dark Angels for a bit here. Like it's not nearly as good, and it's a small model count army, and I kind of like tough armies that are like really awful to get rid of. That's kind of my jam. So I think I'd probably like playing that a little bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now I'm too busy with other stuff to do a ton of modeling and painting and that kind of thing. So I'm probably going to put that on the back burner a little bit. But I'd like to get back to it pretty soon because it is kind of one of my modes of like stress relief. I don't know about you, John. Do you feel that way about like doing modeling and painting and that kind of stuff? Does that kind of calm you down?
Up until very, very recently, I've had a very high stress job. When I would come home, I would just sit and build something.
Yeah, same.
And like, it doesn't matter. Like, if I built like a Dread Knight and I'm like, I put the wrong guns, I'm like, I don't care. I just built something. So it super helps. And like you, I was prepping for that team tournament, made a similar choice not to go, which was a little bit, I think we had 2 teams from like the same social group.
Right.
And by the end of it, we were down to 4 players. So that would have been like a random 5th. And for me, part of the fun of it is going and hanging out with people, and
absolutely,
and kind of that social part of it here. And yeah, well, it'd be great, to see. I'm sure Val's going to be there for the Ocho covering the event and kind of other people.
Right.
Like it lost a lot of its luster then. And then also, yeah, just kind of life changes that are happening here. I'm like, we'll just take this experience. We're going to put it on hold and put it all towards LVO, which I'm sure will be phenomenal. But yeah, we'll talk about the lists. We're going to take a break because I can call that now. We do that
Hell
now.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Break time.
Perfect.
But like I built and prepped and painted this entire list in the past couple of months, and it's broken my back from Death Guard. But I'm very excited to talk about it. We are going to jump to an advert. We'll come right on back to talk about our tournament experiences in the last weekend.
Dude, I'm the best. I took first place at another tournament.
First off, stop with the thunder and lightning. You don't impress me. And second, let me check out the BCP rankings. And I don't see you on there.
What?
Your TO needs to download the Best Coast Pairings app and run events on it. After the event, the results are uploaded into BCP rankings, and the best part, it's easy and free.
But I play multiple game systems.
No big deal. The BCP app can be used for any game. A ton of events every weekend are using it, from major international tournaments to local stores. And now that it's available on Android devices, you're going to have some serious competition.
There can be only one.
BCP Rankings is a fun and exciting way to measure how you or your team stack up. No matter what you play, your score goes to an overall ranking, or compete to be the best in a game, a circuit, a region, or the world.
Download the app or visit www.bestcoastpairings.com for more info.
Best Coast Pairings.
Are you the best?
Well, I'm up there, upper 50th percentile, that's for sure. Danny,
Nice.
Now that we're dividing and conquering, last weekend we had a couple tournaments in a couple different states. I was at MJ's Cards and Comics out in the Matanuska Valley up here in Alaska for their RTT. And then, Danny, whereabouts were you in the beautiful real America?
So I went to the Gamers Haven RTT. Gamers Haven is a store in Spokane, Washington, run by the famous Bob Kelly, who is one hell of a guy. What a great event. Super nice terrain. Like everything was beautifully painted. A really nice store, like well laid out, plenty of room. And it wasn't hot, which was also great. It was also close to some great restaurants and that kind of stuff. So I was able to kind of walk to actually some really good, there was some really good restaurants just down the way from there. So, and he has an attached restaurant, but it was like Restaurant Day in Spokane or something like that. So like he was saying that they had reservations pretty much. So it was pretty unlikely for any of us to be able to eat there. But
Man.
they have like a Cajun restaurant.
Imagine throwing an RTT at your restaurant game store, then telling all of the players, do you have a reservation? I'm at your RTT. That's a separate reservation.
That's a separate reservation, fool. So
Quality.
Yeah. So John, so you took this Poxwalker list, right? That's what you took.
Oh my
to this,
God. Yeah, I took
event?
this Poxwalker. Let me just get in the right mind space. So I needed to get reps in. This was back when Danny and I were both going to a team tournament on separate teams to, divide the quality.
Yeah. Right. We couldn't put all of Alaska's best players all on one team.
That was too much. That was too much for people.
Too much concentrated power in one place.
I, of course, had the Death Guard portion, and we decided, and this was before we knew that they weren't going to be doing differential scoring, that I was going to do the skew list to be thrown at people to be a giant pain in the ass, which I'm all for. Yeah. So the list is Terminus Ast, from Book of Rust. So it starts with 2 Malignant Plaguecasters. One has a Shamble Rop and Lung Rop, and he's kind of my non-Warlord caster. Then the other Malignant Plaguecaster has the Entropy power, where, you roll a dice, you add your toughness. If you beat it, they take 3 mortal wounds. If you beat it by double, like that one there.
Yeah.
And then he also had the power to reduce your toughness by 1.
Cool.
And then he, as a warlord, had the Rotten Constitution warlord trait to give him +1 toughness, so he's toughness 6. Nice. Really just looking at the proliferation of Drukhari and even Marines at this point up here, just T6+6 is a really, and every time I got that power off, we did mortal wounds. I beat them every time.
Nice.
The real meat of the list, and why it's so painful for me, is the 6 units of 20 Poxwalkers.
Ooh, baby.
So 120 Poxwalkers. And then the elite slots, there's 3 units of 5 Blightlord Terminators with a flail in each. There's 3 units of 3 Death Shroud. And then the entire thing, and Zach here, who was also on the team, he knows me so well and how to sell a list to me. He's like, you should play this. It's an auxiliary support detachment with 1 elite slot that contains both a Foul Blight spawn and also a Tallyman, because that is technically 1 elite spot. And as long as you tell me something technically you can do it, then I'm going to be like all in on it. So yeah, it was a lot. Luckily, like my entire Warhammer, like quote unquote career, I've played Hordes, so I have a pretty good handle on how to have a fast game. Every one of my games completed naturally, apart from my second one, which was against like a brand new player, which got to the end of round 4. On average, my turn 1 was 3.5 minutes.
Wow, nice. That's great.
And the way you do that is I bought a bunch. The local store had a bunch of the Apocalypse movement trays on clearance, and I just painted the underside of those different colors, so it's easy to tell which one was which. It was easy to move it up, easy to deploy. But man, for being told this was a brainless list, this is not a brainless list whatsoever.
No.
If you position your Poxwalkers wrong, it blocks off your Terminators. If you choose the wrong Terminators to deep strike, you can't pull them in. And in game 1, I made like every single mistake possible like that.
Oh.
It was against New Thousand Suns, where he was playing Cult Magic. He had 16 spooky board points.
Cult of Magic?
Yeah, or the one that lets you auto pass the powers. What's that one called?
I mean, I think that's any of them.
Yeah. Well, it was one of them, but he had one, like, it was all one couple. He had like 16 of the spooky boy points.
Sure.
And for me,
the
Cabal points. And for my list, it wasn't a great matchup, because what I needed to do was shoot all his Zangors and just shoot them and get rid of them. But my list has no guns. So that was
except for the combi bolters.
Yeah,
right?
the combi bolters and the Terminators, which even then can only do so much through positioning and being blocked by things. I also could have done better on my secondary choices. To be fair, I feel like I always tried to take the hold 3 objectives secondary, because domination
or stranglehold.
Stranglehold is called now. Thank you. I can always get that pretty reliably. This time, not so much. Being that his psychic phase was multiple mortal wounds. Scarab Occult Terminators did a lot of work with their combi bolters. He had a couple of small.
How many Scarab Occult did he bring?
10.
1 unit of 10.
Yeah, 1 unit of 10. And then there was a couple of 5-mans of Rubrikai with the chain cannon thing that they have. And that was just kind of mowing me off of objectives to the point. And it wasn't taking me completely off, but it was enough so that his OBSEC Zangors had more models on that objective. So that was pretty tough. And I ended up losing that game. 94-44 was the final score for that one. So it was pretty brutal. I consoled myself because differential scoring, I only lost 19-1, so I still would have picked up a point. So, there we go. But yeah, it was, and Alex is a really great player. He's very technical. He knows his rules really well. He knows what he wants to do. And on top of that, I made just a couple of really bad misplays where I was like, that was bad movement. And my secondary choices, I should have been way better about. Especially looking at the way he was moving his Zangors and his Rubrikai around. Spread the Sickness isn't a great one, just because that objective needs to be clear at the start of the turn.
Right. And it's hard to start that action.
And it's hard to start that action. So really against those kind of armies, I need to be picking objectives that score at the end of the turn to give me a fair thing. So that was a great learning for me on that point. To kind of like how to properly pick secondary. So next time I'm for sure going to be doing that there. The fact I scored like 44, my list reliably, like if I go in blindfolded hungover, should score 40 to 50 points just by design. So it kind of performed like if I played really badly, which I did. And also Alex
How did
played
you
really good.
How did you feel about your psychic phase in that game? Did you have much of a psychic phase, or was he able to kind of shut you down a little bit?
So I had to be really cagey with my characters. He had a lot of targeted mortal wounds and targeted powers. So it really turned into me being a little too defensive with my characters.
I see.
And moving them around ruins to try and keep me within deny range, but also being out of line of sight for a lot of these powers.
Sure.
But really, to be honest, they got psychicked really quickly off the table.
I see. Okay. That's fair.
He had really good target priority. I did get a bunch of success keeping the Tallyman on an objective, and he wasn't able to be shot by either of the Volkite Contemptors or the Scarab Occult Terminators because of the 3-man death shroud hiding in a building beside him.
Oh, nice. Okay. So he did run Contemptors as well.
Yeah, he had 2 Volkite Contemptors.
Yeah.
And then he also had the dude who hung up beside the Volkite Contemptors, where if he can see you, you don't get any of your special rules, which for Death Guard is really awful. Not to like, it ignores your -1 damage.
Right. And it's like, I mean, he picks 1 unit, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
still,
which is still good. Like, especially if you know that you're just going to try and target that 1 unit and kill it.
Yeah, for sure. He also took Wrath of Magnus as one of his secondaries. So being able to snipe out characters and kind of smaller things or kind of like straggler units was really helpful. So he scored really high on that there too. Nice. Just a really well played game. Round 2, I got paired into Regina, who's one of our newer players up here.
Oh, sure.
She was playing a Space Marine army. It was a mixture of Raven Guard and Blood Ravens, but Blood Ravens using Raven Guard tactics. So it was essentially just all Raven Guard, but with 2 chapter masters. She was playing like Gabriel Angelos, and I was like, oh, the guy with the giant chin, right? She was like, yeah. So he was there. And then just another Shrike was also there too. She did pretty good. It was very generally when a newer player sees my army when I'm deployed with like 150 models. It's very overwhelming to see, and especially with Terminus S where I'm moving like 8 to 13 inches in the first turn.
Right.
So just I was in her face like really quickly, and then as soon as Poxwalkers touch something and they're sort of unmolested, then it gets real nasty real fast.
Yeah, because they just still dice stuff up with mortal wounds.
Right, for sure. And she had a couple of 3-mans of the Inceptors.
Inceptors, yep.
With heavy bolters. But even then, I'm like, oh, wow. So, yeah, so that's 8 dead Poxwalkers. My next turn, I'm like, okay, 4 come back. So just like not a lot. And then she also had like 12 las cannons in her list through various Devastator squads and like a couple of Venerable Dreadnoughts. But again, it's like, oh, that's 12 dead Poxwalkers. Cool. So
I can deal with that.
I can deal with that. So that I ended up scoring around 82, I think, for that one. That one ended end of turn 4. Just timed out because, like I said, I was more concerned about like what experience are we going to have here. Like I was fairly confident going in, not to be arrogant that I was going to win the game. I didn't doubt that, but do I want to have that experience where I'm just like dick ripping and punching and just making it like a completely unfun time, like we're just rolling dice and not talking? So I did spend some time kind of talking to her, like asking about our army, telling her what I was doing, asking her like, you know, if you want me to do that because I can do this, and that was a lot of fun there.
Well, good.
So that was good.
It sounds like you helped her to have a fun game.
Well, I tried, right? Because I know going up against my list is super oppressive, and if like you're not prepared for it or you're not sure how to counter, then it can just get really unfun really quick. And I fucking hate games where at turn 2 you're playing against Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh because like you killed half of his army by a bad mistake, which leads me to my round 3 game. Which was against this local guy with a Blood Angels army. I never played him before. Dude, this game was so awesome. It was like playing Taylor on Xanax. He was like a little chiller, but just like that much energy. So like we deployed everything. It was like a hammer and anvil style. So obviously I have 120 dudes on the line. He had some Death Company on the line. He's like, I'm going to do a pregame move. I'm like, okay. And he takes his like Death Company and he moves them onto the objective. I'm like, you're like 10 inches away from me, right? He was like, oh yeah. you do know I'm going to murder that squad turn 1 with this unit right here. And he's like, it's all right. I'm going to go first. So I'm like, okay,
cool.
And then I went first, and he was like, oh, fuck.
Of course.
So,
oops.
So, yeah, I charged in, did some smites, mortal wound spammed. And that unit obviously just went away. He played super well. Blood Angels, I always have a hard time into, especially with this Poxwalker list. Their base ability to get +1 to wound on like fucking anything
really good.
is really good into my army. That's all like toughness 4 and stuff everywhere. So yeah, he did good. That one was the first game. Like all 3 games, I tried different combinations of deep strikes. So game 1, I deep struck some Blight Lords and some Death Shroud. Game 2, I deep struck all my Blight Lords. This game, I just deep struck all my Death Shrouds. I left all my characters kind of like free balling on the table.
Cool.
My thought was, you're probably not going to be able to kill 40 to 60 Poxwalkers in one turn, so this guy's probably fine because you don't have snipers. So yeah, it was a great game. It went the way Terminus S games usually do. Where he was like, I'm just going to charge at you. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a fun game. And he charged. I charged. Every turn I would use 2 CP and wipe out a squad. And then like someone came out and was like, oh yeah, looks like he's pulling some models off. I was like, yeah, it's okay. I'm making him burn through his CP. And I'm like, you fool, tally man, next turn. Let's do this again.
I'll get those back. Thank you very much.
And then he kept on doing like super cool stuff. So like whenever I killed his characters, he would roll dice like, oh, he explodes. I'm like, wait, what? And he was like, I got you thinking about that for a second, huh? And I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, I thought, because again, this list is big brain. The best memory of the game, and I think of the event as a whole, is turn 3. I bring down my deep strike reserves and kind of position some stuff around. I'm like, okay, I want to make some charges. And he was just like, you're never going to make all those charges. And I'm like, why would you say that? Why would you say that? And I proceeded to then make 7 charges.
Of course.
Including an 11-inch charge.
Brutal.
And then they did work. Another big brain thing I did some charges. I actually spent CP to interrupt. And I try to be very, like structured in these games where I'm not spending CP unless it's to make Poxwalkers wound things or to make them go faster. Like that's all I'm allowed to do. Otherwise it screws up the whole thing. But I spent CP to interrupt. And then I spent CP to make the Poxwalkers mortal wounds. And then I split my attacks in my Poxwalker squad. And who's that Blood Angels character, the chaplain?
Are you talking about Astrath with the axe or Lamartes with the...
Lamartes. It was Lamartes. Yeah. He does not like being attacked by 6 Poxwalkers while his buddies are attacked by 14. Yeah, he got one-shotted before he could attack. So I know I was lucky with some dice rolls, but it was a good game. So I ended up 4th overall of that tournament, right behind Taylor, who obviously cheated to get to that 3rd place as is tradition. But it was a great time. I always love going out to MJ's. Mike Peslin's of Warhammer ended up winning that after beating Alex, that Thousand Suns player, in that last round. I managed to bully the TO into using random pairings and win path. And I thought it was super good. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, it worked out really well. And I think, like I said, doing that means like round 2 onwards, I'm not seeing the same tables.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But Gamers Haven, Spokane, Washington. Yeah. Restaurants aplenty unless you want to eat, in which case you need a reservation.
Yeah. I drive an hour and a half, so my morning starts at...
Can I challenge you to tell me about 2 of your games in detail and maybe skip over 1 game?
Yeah, we'll skip over one of them. I'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
So I show up. Literally, they're saying, like, I'm showing up like literally 5 minutes before the tournament starts. Like Classic. They're going, like as I open the door, Bob is yelling, "Is Danny McDevitt here?" And I go, "Yo, don't start without me." And he's like, "That was the best entrance I've ever seen."
Like, from Alaska, we do things a little differently.
Yeah, we do. We do things a little differently around these parts. So I pull up to the table. My first opponent is Zachary Bryant. Now, Zachary's got Death Guard. So unfortunately for Zachary, I've been beating the shit out of Death Guard for like the last 6 months.
Can I just let me pull up here while you're talking about this? Like I was at this tournament and Danny sent me a message. Let me see. This is just me bitching about 1,000 Suns. Oh, here we go. Thanks for playing Death Guard so much. Made the first game really easy. His list was way worse than yours, which is like both a burn and a compliment at the same time.
Well, I think he just it's obviously a different meta, right? And I felt like for me, against my list, his list was way worse than yours. Let me talk about my list a little bit.
Yeah,
talk about your list. It up. My list is weird. And it was weird in a good way. It was okay. So I have my list that I've decided to kind of move to. I was running like a Skitarii Horde, and now I'm running a Skitarii Horde. So it's
but slightly different.
But slightly different. So I was running Styges 8. And that was mostly for the redeploys for like my chickens and other assault units and that kind of thing, or forward deploying like my Rust Stalkers, which is also very powerful. What I did is I took a custom Forge World. What I noticed in my games at Charity Hammer, and we'll talk about Charity Hammer in a bit, but one of the things that I noticed about Charity Hammer in my list is that my list doesn't trade very well. Like I really have to rely on killing multiple units with one of my units in order to really kind of get efficiency. And while my list has the killing power, I overkill stuff all the time, and so it's not worth it. And I couldn't be on as many objectives as I wanted to be, and so it wasn't working the way that I wanted it to. So what I did is I went for a custom Forge World, and I went for the Rad Saturated Forge World, which kind of gives me a little bit of a similar buff against shooting. Like Styges does, because Styges makes you in dense cover when you're over 12 inches away. This one makes you -1 strength to ranged attacks from over 12 inches away, which is good. It makes like bolters and stuff like that when you on 4s, which is a pretty big deal.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, and it stacks with dense terrain too. So if that's on the table, that's a big deal. So it was totally fine. And the secondary part of my trait was the Scarifying Weapons. And so Scarifying Weapons makes all the radium weapons in your army +1 strength, -1 AP. And so instead of having a bunch of big units of like Vanguard, I switched to 6 units of 10 Vanguard with Omnispexes. And I ran Skitarii Veteran Cohort. So those guys are all still immune to blast weapons. They have a 5+ invulnerable save. So they actually are pretty durable. Like they're really annoying to get rid of.
Oh, wow.
And they make you -1 strength and toughness in combat. They've got multiple attacks. So like against Dark Eldar, which I felt like was my main threat, it turns out that's not the case. My main threat is something very different. But I think against Dark Eldar, this list works really well because I can trade. Like 10 Skitarii only costs 100 points. They'll like one unit will significantly cripple a raider, or they'll kill the 2 squads that come out of a raider like fairly easily. Just with strength 4 on the radium carbines with 30 shots at -1 AP is a big deal. So I have 6 units of 10s of those. I had 2 units of 20 rangers. I have for those of you counting at home, that's 100 Skitarii. And then I also had 2 units of 5. Yeah, quick maths. I had 2 units of 5 infiltrators and 1 unit of 10 Rust Stalkers. I had 2 units of 1. Oh God, what are those things called? Iron Striders, Battlestar Iron Striders with autocannons, just because I didn't want to spend the points on las cannons.
Is that the Gimp Chicken Walker things?
Yeah, that's the Gimp Chicken.
Yeah.
And I took those for the Eradication of Flesh secondary, because they're easy to hide that base, like behind a piece of terrain.
Yeah.
And then all I have to do is kill 1 infantry unit. If you don't kill a vehicle unit, then I get 3 points.
Yeah, and that's of course that secondary where if you kill more infantry or more units than they kill vehicles of yours.
Infantry units than vehicles.
Yeah, then you get 3 points. Which if
then
you
I get
just
3 points.
Yeah, if you only take a couple and you hide them real well, it makes it real hard.
It makes it real hard, and they're fast, so I can run away from stuff pretty easily. So there's that, and then I have 2 units of 4 Cerberus Sulfur Hounds, which are kind of an unusual choice, but they were really good. I really like that unit. I'm definitely going to be taking more of those.
Was that the sniper ones?
No, they're the flamer ones.
Oh, okay.
So they have they can advance and shoot pistol weapons, and then they're both their flamer and the guy on top has 2 strength 5 pistols at -1 AP.
Okay.
And the flamer is -2 AP. They're
That's
all
really good.
pistols, so they can shoot into combat, and they have they're irradiated,
Mm-hmm.
so they make you -1 strength and toughness in combat. So they're actually pretty good. Like they're good at doing stuff. They get 4 attacks a piece. Like they're just really annoying. And they're fast, which was another nice benefit. And then I had the typical characters. I had a Dominus, a Manipulus, and 2 Skitarii Marshals. So lots of rerolls to hit and to wound.
Mm-hmm.
So first round, I pull up against Death Guard. My opponent's got like 60 Poxwalkers, unit of 10 Blightlord Terminators, double Volkite Contemptors, 2 units of 3 Death Shroud. He's got 2 Plague Burst Crawlers, and he's got Typhus, a Malignant Plague Caster, and a Tallyman with Tollkeeper. And he deployed kind of interestingly, like he put the Tollkeeper with 1 Contemptor off to the side, and then the other Contemptor kind of in the middle of his army. I think I kind of faked him out in deployment and made him deploy them weird. But he wasn't able to like combo up Tollkeeper with both of the Contemptors, which was, I think, a mistake.
Like the only reason I can see doing that is if you're able to kind of like move the 8 inches and like scissor them closer together.
They were like way far apart.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. And the table that I played on had tons of big obscuring pieces of terrain. Like I'm talking like 12 by 12 pieces of obscuring terrain. So he was able to hide stuff pretty easily. So was I, obviously. But one of the objectives, because of the way the terrain was, had to actually be inside of one of the pieces of terrain. Which is technically not by the rules, but we both agreed to it, and we both thought, yeah, it'll just make an interesting battle point, and it really did. So he got first turn, he kind of pushed up, and I managed to push back and kill all the Poxwalkers on my first turn. I lost 1 unit of I lost all but 1 model in a Cerberus Cerberus Sulfur Hound squad.
Okay.
And then like from there it was like this constant like kind of trading off on one kind of key objective, and I was really able to push one side of the board and take all of the objectives on that side. So I was always getting like 15 points on primary like almost every single turn. My first turn, I also killed a Contemptor with 1 Ranger squad. I killed a Contemptor from full health to nothing.
You had 10 mans, right?
No, it was a 20-man Ranger
good.
Squad.
Okay,
so they shot 60 shots at strength 4, minus 1 or -2 AP.
That's what you get for sticking your butt out at Skitarii. They're gonna shoot you.
Yep. And so he died. I killed the Blightlords. I did 40 wounds with the Ruststalkers, and then also 10 mortal wounds. It was 30. Sorry, it was 34 wounds, and then also 10 mortal wounds in addition to that damage.
Was that after the damage reduction?
Well, yeah. I mean, there are only 1 damage attacks. It was 34 wounds at -3, and then also 10 mortal wounds.
No.
So like that squad just evaporated.
Yeah.
And then he was just kind of left with not much else. I was able to kind of plink off the Death Shroud. Like I just did a bunch of work. The way I did that was I charged them with 10 Ruststalkers and a squad of Skitarii, and so that reduced their toughness by 1. And then I boosted the strength on the. They go to toughness 4. Well, they went to toughness from toughness 6 to toughness 5 because of their they got the psychic power on them.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
smart.
Yeah, but then I boosted their strength to strength 6 with one of their stratagems, and so they just like diced them up. So it just basically made the power not matter.
I have found with like Death Shroud aren't really tough at all anymore, and you need to be way cagier with them.
For sure.
Yeah.
Typhus died to 1 squad of 10 Skitarii, like 1 squad of 10 Skitarii with the radium carbines.
So I did look at his list because after you sent that message, I was like super intrigued, and it did seem pretty kind of standard.
It's standard. I just don't like Blightlords that much.
The Poxmongers thing confused me. Like I understand you're wanting to get your involvements and kind of protect your Plague Burst a little bit.
It didn't matter against my army though, because I was like, all my stuff is -1 AP, and that's kind of one of the weaknesses I found.
I don't understand Typhus being in the list, and I don't understand the Blightlords. I mean, I think you were mastering something about like while we stand or to the last or what it's called.
Yeah, he was doing to the last, and so to be fair, he got 10 points on to the last because there's no way I'm going to kill Plague Burst Crawlers. I just don't care that much. It's just like it's not worth it to me to try and kill them. Like they're so tough. And the other thing he can do with Poxmongers is he can shoot the Plague Burst Crawlers into combat at +1 to hit, which is good.
But if you're ignoring them, then yeah. But anyway,
so there was no hobby scores at this tournament. So I won this game 85-, which is lucky for me because my shit wasn't painted. 85-51. So I went on to the next round. So I played a game against a gentleman, and you can look it up on BCP if you want to. Like, I'm not gonna name names here. I think he was just having a rough time. I did go first in this game, and I think it was kind of demoralizing. I don't feel like I killed so much stuff in this Thousand Suns army, but I think he was just unhappy with kind of my army, and I think the state of my hobby with my army specifically. And so he was just not having a good game.
So because you're new in town, never had been seen before, show up with like a in progress AdMac army, then assumptions were made.
I mean, the assumptions were correct in that I'm a power gaming asshole, but like at the
did you try throwing,
I'm not an asshole.
Did you try throwing the old "Do you know who I am?" and then like here's a holographic sticker?
John, it was very hard for me not to do that. I had a bunch of stickers to give to him, to be totally honest.
If I'm being honest with you, I accidentally gave you all of the stickers.
So no, really? Do you want me to send you some
No,
back?
dude, it's good. I'll order more.
Okay,
I'll order
cool.
more.
That's hilarious, actually. Yeah, dude, I was rocking like all the stickers that I have, like a big stack of the round White Claw stickers. I had the other ones. I had my Mob Rules objective markers.
Hell yeah.
And I had the Mob Rules mat for my tray.
Hell yeah.
Like, it was Mob Rules 100% of the time.
We never do the podcast, but we represent in real life.
yeah, sometimes we release a podcast like once every 2 months.
Hell yeah. So yeah,
anyway,
that game, obviously,
it wasn't good. I don't want to like talk about it too much, but yeah, I ended up winning that game. Kind of a bummer. I didn't get to play 3 games. I only really got to play 2, but that's fine. Whatever.
Next time.
Next time, right? So last game I ended up playing against Zach's brother. So I leveled up and had to play against the bigger brother there.
So you beat up on the kid brother, and he went and got his older brother to come beat you up.
It's like the Billy Goat's Gruff, you know, if you were, yeah. And so he was playing what I found out was my nemesis, which is Custodes, specifically Shadowkeepers.
Oh.
So he played vehicle heavy Custodes. He had 1 Galatus and 2 Telemons. He had the unkillable shield captain.
Sure.
Trajan, a banner, 3 units of 3 of the Sagittarium Guard, the guys with the heavy bolters.
Mm-hmm.
And then a unit of 5 Venatari. And so this game, I picked terrible secondaries because I picked Eradication of Flesh for some reason. I'm just like, I automatically went to that and didn't really think about it. It was a terrible secondary against him because he really doesn't have that many infantry units.
No.
Like, all the stuff that's important to kill is like vehicles. And after the first round, I'm like, oh, this was a terrible choice. And he's like, yeah, I don't think that was a good one, man.
Isn't
I'm
that
like,
the worst where like you're just like, oh no.
Yeah, what was I thinking? So anyway, the key component here is that my army relies, like, even against vehicles that are toughness 7 or below, I have a lot of strength 4 -1 AP shots, and it's enough. My army shoots like 300 shots, 350 shots a turn, something stupid like that, right? Like the Vanguard blobs themselves shoot 180 shots of radium, right? So it's a lot of shots.
It's a lot of shots.
But when you have a stratagem that can make a unit -1 strength to the ranged weapons that target them, it makes all of my strength 4 stuff into strength 3 stuff. And when you have toughness 6, like a bike captain or dreadnoughts, like, I'm only winning you on 6s, and it just doesn't do enough damage to really matter.
Mm-hmm.
So I really didn't do enough. Like I couldn't do enough damage in my army to really wipe him off the table. And so he got first turn, and his incidental shooting is actually pretty good. It was able to remove a lot of models fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't really able to keep up. I wasn't making good trades. Like I think I made a few misplays, and he is very good with his army. He made a lot of really solid tactical plays.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the weird nuancy stuff with Custodes. I hope they get a codex soon, because things are going to change with them pretty quick. I'm looking forward to not having to play against Telewans again. But they have a stratagem where you can heroically intervene, like with like a dreadnought, but it doesn't actually heroically intervene. It just moves 3 inches. So it doesn't have to be within 3 inches. Like you have to be more than 4 inches away in order for it not to just heroically intervene into you. And they can also like just move 3 inches.
Oh,
so it like
that seems really questionably written, but amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's the Emperor's finest, so I guess they get to do whatever they want. Anyway, I couldn't really keep up with him, and he going first. He was really able to push the center, and I was not able. I was hoping that he would be a little bit more reserved, and he was not. But fantastic opponent, super nice guy. We had a couple of rules questions that weren't big deal, but I was totally wrong about them. So yeah, no harm, no foul there. Yeah.
How does it feel to have people actually challenge you on rules now?
It was fine. I was happy. I was happy to be wrong. Like as long as we're playing by the rules, that's what counts, right?
Hell yeah.
And so he managed to beat me 88-47. He did fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, really great opponent. I can't wait to play him again. I hope my army is a little bit more of a challenge for him next time. But I was playing on top table, so had I won that game, I would have won the event. But since there's like 20 people at this tournament, and secondly, I have to give them credit, nobody dropped the whole day.
Oh, dang.
Out of 20 people, everybody stayed and played all 3 games. I think that's awesome.
See, if they did,
and that's really commendable.
If they did win path, then you would have been really high up there.
Probably, I would have been. I would have been like 3rd or 4th place, because there was another 3-0 player. Anyway, so I ended up taking 4th place in that event.
Hey, samesies.
Which is which is good. But yeah, I'm excited to play as part of a new community and like kind of really stretch my legs. They were actually, so here's the trippy part. They were excited that they had an AdMech player finally in their community.
Oh no!
Yeah, you don't hear that very much. I'll tell you that.
Have they played against AdMech before? I don't feel they have. Oh boy. Well, we're gonna take a break. Danny, what do you want to talk about next? We have 2 things I really want to touch on. I have many things, but I also don't want to keep us here for like 17 hours.
Yeah, I know.
We both won a Charity Hammer. Warhammer Plus launched, and then some like just bullshitting about FLG and stuff. What do you want to hit on?
Yeah, sure. This is the best format ever, by the way.
Hell yeah. This is John decides randomly. John decides randomly what he wants to talk about, and then gives Danny the option of what it is. Danny, just for you, before we head out to talk about Charity Hammer, let's listen to this.
Earl Hagen was a legend. In 1960, he whistled his way into Hollywood and into our hearts. Decades later, he made a comeback, lending those lustrous lips in the 1980s to such bands as the Scorpions, Guns N' Roses, and Pat Benatar. A half-century after his humble beginnings, he's at it again. This time without cumbersome musical accompaniment, he'll have you wetting your whistle and whistling along. His new album, Earl Whistles Disney, is sure to be a hit with all generations. Order now and receive a bonus album, Earl Whistles More Shit, a collection of previously unreleased material of Earl's favorite songs through the years. On this bonus album, he demonstrates his newly mastered technique of inward whistling. Order yours today on compact disc or double-length cassette. Also available at fine retailers such as Walgreens, CVS, and participating Sam Goody stores. Earl Whistles Disney. Buy it today.
All right, we're back. And yeah,
Love it.
Danny, you made the decision. And man, I have like literally not listened to that one in months. So it's really good
So
to
good.
pull that one out of the bag. Good old Peter from NGC 40K.
You always love to pull your Peter
us.
out of the bag, John.
I do. And speaking of pulling things out of the bag, Danny, both of us went to Charity Hammer this year.
I know, we did.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So, first of all, John, did you have a good time?
I did. A little stressful, but I had a good time. But yeah, it was a nice experience overall. It was nice to put some faces to names, especially people I've talked to for the past year or so, and especially Colin. Like, never actually had a conversation with him in real life, so that was kind of nice to do. And yeah,
you got to meet the degenerate that is Paul Winters, and also some of our other Patreons.
His bizarre car that's like, we decided sounds like soft moaning when it drives. So when it drives up, like,
that's totally on purpose.
When his car drove up, like, he drives an electric car, so all we hear is a ooh.
I can't even hear that.
Yeah, it was. Well, you will when we don't listen to this again ever. Got to meet Paul, who finally got to talk to Nick Nanavati when he was like, hey, a couple days ago I learned there was some line cutting thing. I'm like, oh yeah, man, that was a shitty joke from 2 years ago. I just never dropped. It's pretty great. Meet Horse McDickey from the Discord too was there. But yeah, it's like a whole bunch of great people. I was there. Colin told me to just film a bunch of stuff and give him short little videos. So that's what I did.
Yeah. Did he like the videos that you sent him?
I think so. Okay. There was a couple of standout ones. They played them. So I started creating them and then they put them in between. So like when the stream went dark from the games.
Oh, cool.
They would do like loops of the videos I was making. So that was what was playing in between the streams.
Dude, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
There was a couple of standout ones that really, so I worked with a lot of the players for the Hardest GT, part of Charity Hammer. The idea was everyone had to bring in a video of them describing their list. And they would play that before the games, so people had an idea of what it was. Obviously, Warhammer players being Warhammer players, I think Colin got like 11 people out of 32 to do one beforehand, so I did a lot of those. Two of my favorite ones. We had such great plans, and then just time got away from us.
Yeah, it really did. We had a good one set up, though, for sure.
But my two favorite ones were by JT McDowell. Just salt of the earth, like literally one of the greatest people I've ever met.
Oh my God, what a great guy.
And then also Nick Nanavati were the two that was amazing. Now JT,
I was surprised how good Nick's was. Like excellent.
JT, he messaged me about a week before the event. For those that don't know, JT is man, I'm blanking. It's Play on Tabletop, right?
Yeah.
Play on Tabletop he's a part of. I'm gonna feel awful. So
he's the announcer.
You're gonna know his voice. If you've
sure.
watched it, you know him. And like I said, he's a phenomenal guy in real life. A lot of people don't know he's a former professional wrestler a few years back. So when I first met JT at Las Vegas, as a giant wrestling nerd, and that, like, people tell you I'm a massive wrestling nerd, I literally questioned him for an hour straight, and it's one of
it was longer than that. Like, we hung out in that bar, like listening to JT's life story, John.
Yeah,
for like 2.5 hours with Kyle.
Well, time
it was awesome.
Time has no meaning in Vegas, so I'm going to just say an hour and call it that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But what JT wanted to do was put on his old wrestling singlet and cut an old style wrestling promo about his army. So I'm like, great.
Hell yeah.
He's like, John, you're going to be my Mean Gene Okerlund. So like the announcer who calls him in and like interviews him and stuff. And in my head, I'm like, JT, I'm like a foot taller than you, man. I don't know how this is going to work. So I'm
going to have to get on your knees and like kind of like.
I should have just gone on my knees, but I was literally just doing the splits, which was really obvious to see. And I was about the same height as him at the end of it. He comes out in his old wrestling singlet. JT, love the man. He is not in the same shape as he was in when he was a wrestler in his 20s.
Sir.
Luckily for Twitch, the nipples were covered by the singlet, but then he did a screaming wrestling promo to describe his army, and it was a glorious sight, and that drew a little bit of an audience.
Amazing.
And the other one, not Nick came up and he's like, "Hey, we got to do my player video." He's like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "I don't know, let's go in the backyard." So I'm like, okay, I was just gonna film it. And I'm like, "Hey, Nick, can you sit on that swing and tell me your army while you're swinging on a swing set?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, let's do it." Well, first off, I wanted him to come down the slide and jump off and tell me his army. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not going to fit there." So yeah, he goes in and he swings on the swing set, and complete professional that he is, like, he times his talking to where the swing is. So when he swings back, he doesn't talk, and when he swings forward, he talks. So he's like, "Hi guys, it's Nick Nanavati from the Art of War, talking about my Dark Eldar," and it was super cool. And something I noticed, actually, just because I recorded a bunch of stuff, like I did a bunch of like spot interviews and just drop-ins, and I would just drop a camera down and run away. Seeing the content creators, especially the Art of War guys, some of the Play on Tabletop guys, definitely the Tabletop Life guys as well, turn on was fucking hilarious.
Oh, like Bridger, right?
Like Bridger too. It was fucking hilarious for me because they are like, and even like your John Lennons and your Nicks and your Bridgers, they're all not meek necessarily in real life, but they're muted and you're just talking like a normal person. Mm-hmm. And so, you would have John Lennon come and say, "Oh, hey, what do you want me to do?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, just, introduce yourself, talk about your army, that kind of thing. Just keep it short." And he's like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds good." And he sits down and John went like brain dead in the face for like a couple minutes. And then like, "Okay, go. You ready?" And he's like, "Okay, I can start." "Hey guys, that's John Lennon." And I'm like, "Holy shit, who is this person?" And like all of them would like just turn on. I'm like, "Oh shit, I gotta start doing that. We gotta be more pro, Danny. We gotta have different personas."
Do we though? I think we have a great persona.
I think we're amazing. Yeah. It's pretty fine.
It's like look, guys, like we're the same that we are now as we are all the time.
Like literally when you meet us at tournaments, like we are exactly the same. Much to some people's disappointments.
Sometimes I get a little serious, but it's not like it's not for real. Like no. I'm having a good time, I promise.
And then I got to commentate the finals of the Orkoff, the best WoW boss competition, which they had 4 of the Orc players that were there playoff, and it was Seth, Fake Bird Doctor, and pretend host of Signals of the Frontline. Who we've started a fake feud with, so I feel I have to continue.
Pretend. Now you're just straight up saying is a pretend host.
Dude, we don't have to kayfabe on this show here. We're not part of the network here. It's just we can be like.
I mean,
it's a pretend feud.
Is Seth part of the Rogue Trader network though?
I believe Seth the Mad Doc was grandfathered in without his knowledge or permission.
Okay, so he's still part of our network.
Oh, fuck.
Technically.
Okay. God damn it, I hate him then.
Fuck Seth.
So
just kidding.
He was playing Chuck from the Best in Faction podcast in the finals. And the special thing was, like, Colin got really hyped and jazzed about, okay, John, it's going to be you and Innes commentating because you're both Scottish and they're orcs. And like, while that's true, both Innes and I are Scottish, we're like, you realize we both disdain orcs and orc players. Like, we like nothing about this army or this player base. So I did have a lot of fun commentating with it,
as we say from the throne
from
that
the
is mob rules.
Mob rules, yeah, absolutely. But no, I did have a lot of fun. So I commentated that game. What was super funny was I like Colin. He does very well for himself, and he has a pool house. And I had set my little editing recording studio up in the upper deck of his pool house. I could, and my plan was to commentate from there using my laptop. So like I was watching at the same time Innes was, and there was no delays and weird stuff like that. However, some members decided they wanted to jacuzzi, so there was raucousness coming along the whole time.
Oh yeah, sure.
So I relocated. I managed to find an outlet on the wall of his pool house outside.
I know. I saw that. You were like huddled up, like underneath, like next to a door.
I was huddled up under an awning next to a door because it was also raining, commentating this game, which, if we're being completely honest, was decided on turn 2 when Seth had killed 3/4 of Chuck's army. So now we're like, I'm messaging Innes and I'm like, shit, how do we keep this interesting for the next like hour and a half this game is supposed to run?
Yeah.
So we just turned it into calling Seth a coward and saying that he was bad at things.
Perfect.
And then the last thing I did for Charity Hammer was I played Peter the Falcon, Calissimo.
Dude, that was a fun game. I
on
watched
stream.
a good amount of that one.
It was his Blood Angels versus my Terminus Ass list. Mainly, like, I talked to him beforehand because, like, he literally just woke up from, like, a 30-minute nap after, like, 2 days of not sleeping. He's like, oh, I don't know. I was like, dude, we're just going to tell the chat that they're all assholes and they're all shit. I'm going to ask you some questions. People are going to ask you questions about yourself. It'll be fine. It turned out to be a really fun game. It was super close the whole way, and Pete only kind of pulled through and won, like, very last turn. Like, that's how close it was. Like, let's call this a draw, because he's a super nice guy. I'm like, no, fuck you beat me. He's like, no, it's a draw. And I'm like, nope, you won. It's fine. Like, it's we don't all have to win all the time. Yeah, mostly
he never wants to win a game. That's what it is, really.
Yeah, because then he'll have to do stats on himself, and that's just nepotism right there. Yeah, so we had our pit boss telling us what the chat was saying, and then we would either tell them to go fuck themselves, because it was the Canhammer stream and we could swear, or I would start asking Peter random stupid-ass questions. Like, and I think my favorite one was like, if you hadn't called yourself the Falcon, because true story, he gave himself that nickname.
He did.
What would you have called yourself? And he was like, Duke. So now I just call him Duke Falcon. That's his country name.
Perfect.
Yeah. That was my Charity Hammer thing. That's all I really got up to. Danny, you got up to a heck of a lot more, though, as the guest of honor there.
Did I?
You did.
Oh, the guest of honor. Yeah, right. So
Alaska contingent. Well, could it just interrupt? Colin got real pissy that he had to ask me 3 times to go, and he brought that up on multiple occasions.
Oh, well, yeah. So I ended up, I played 4 games, which was fine. That was plenty. I maybe could have played 1 or 2 like side games. That would have been fine.
I was asked.
Kind of
I was also
utilize my
not in a
time.
state to play a game.
Yeah, when I was asked, I was a little faded, so didn't happen. Sorry, Tanner. I still owe you a game for sure.
A big same.
Yep. So the first game I played for Charity Hammer, which was kind of like our inaugural, like one of our favorite ones we do, is Peter and I play a game, Peter the Falcon, where we eat spicy food. So Mitch got us some Carolina Reaper pickles, I think is what they were.
Mm-hmm, they were.
And so Peter and I were down in those, no problem, while we were playing our game. And I brought Dark Angels to that one because I wanted it to be more of a fun game. Like the AdMech, I think, would have just smashed the Blood Angels like pretty hard.
Oh, yeah.
And that wouldn't have been nearly as fun. So, yeah, so we played Dark Angels versus, and Peter's like, he's like, oh, I thought you were taking a soft list. And I'm like, this is a softer list. He's like, you just won a major with this.
Like, one, it was a GT.
Well, it wasn't. It technically, no, it was a major. But like the, I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. I did, but the meta's different now. But against Peter, the meta was the same. So it's still a good list. The -1 damage banner is still very good on Dark Angels. I did some work against him. Like, it was a tough game. It wasn't easy. Like, it was still neck and neck for a while, but the last few turns were pretty much decided. Like, but we had a good time. We bullshitted. It was a super fun game. As always, I love playing Peter.
Yeah.
And he's way better than people give him credit for.
He's very good.
He's very good. And then I played in the hardest grand tournament ever, I guess, or whatever it is.
You did.
Like,
well, after round 1, it was.
Well, I was seated in in kind of the middle of the pack, a little bit in the upper middle, I would say. And so I got paired down. Obviously, like everybody got paired down, unless you got paired up because you were in the lower half.
Sorry,
I played against. Yeah, I played against Seth, the Mad Dog, against his orcs, and I played my AdMech. And so we kind of lost track of time because we were having an awesome time. Like, we were having fun. He gave me this yodeling pickle that I have spiked into my car somewhere. It's in there. It exists. So
That
And the thing
became
would
like a
randomly
meme
go
over
off.
the weekend.
Yeah. Tim Penny had these like Seth made stickers of Tim Penny's face, and so I put like one of those stickers on the pickle, and then it was Pickle Tim, and it was like
Funniest shit I've ever
thing
seen.
you've ever seen. Yeah. Anyway, I played Seth. We were bullshitting, having too much fun at the start. So we actually ended up like with 40 minutes still on our chess clock at the end of when the game was supposed to stop. We had like 20 minutes each. And so Colin asked us to kind of, yeah, I know.
My
Colin
favorite thing about this whole experience, because I was there for that one, was at the end when you were talking over and you explained to Colin, you both explained to Colin what happened. And Colin's reaction is to put his hands on the table, real serious, and be like, Peter, cut the audio.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, are we gonna get a talking to?
He was like, this can't end in a fucking draw, guys. Work it out.
Yeah. Because the game like technically would have ended in a draw because I clocked out and then he had a few minutes to basically put dudes on objectives. Had I had the 20 minutes, I think I wipe out most of the stuff that would have been a threat to me.
Oh yeah.
But it's not a big deal. Like it was a close enough game and I was honestly good either way.
Mm-hmm.
But we agreed to what it would have been had I had time. Basically was me wiping out oh god, what's the great white squid guy's name?
Charles.
Charles Mordrak or whatever the special character snakebite guy is. If my Ruststalkers could kill him in close combat, which spoilers they did, then I would win the game. And so that's how we kind of calculated up score at the end of it. So Seth took the L, I got the W, which joy to me, I get to play against Nick Donavati again. That's my reward. Which is a reward because it's always good to see like really solid top level play. So I got to play against Nick, which was really fun as always. I had clock issues this game. Like I ran out of time super fast. Nick was playing Dark Eldar. And this is kind of the game that cemented kind of the change in my army list where he was able to do some shenanigans, like some really obviously we're talking about Nick here, right? Like they were good plays.
I mean, for as much as people shit on him for like the coaching service and like Art of War and just being a pro Warhammer person and stuff like that, because people do shit on him for that, he's still a super good player.
Dude, he's one of the best players ever. So you can't deny it. It's just true. So I played against him. And I did okay. I think again, if I would have had more time to make some decisions, I probably could have played a little bit better. I made some critical mistakes that kind of cost me the game. One in particular that was really stupid, and I don't know why I did that. It was just a really dumb move. So I should have played a little bit better, and I think I would have done better, but the game wasn't a blowout or anything like that. Like I still represented myself fairly decently, but I think I did get tabled. And then finally I played a game against John Lennon. I wanted to play my Dark Angels again, just because that is one of my favorite armies. And so he was playing White Scars that he kind of collected from Colin.
Oh yeah.
From all across his house. And again, one of the best White Scars players to ever grace the game is John Lennon. And so he did some cool stuff with Grav Devastators in a Rhino, where they got to move like 30 inches or something like that to shoot something, which was harsh.
Yeah.
I could have played it a little bit tighter, and I think I would have done better. But again, the game wasn't a total blowout either. And John did tell me, he's like, all right, you're not scoring Stranglehold again this entire game. And
you did surprise him. You did.
And I'm like, oh yeah, let me show you about this, son. So basically, like there was this Contemptor that was kind of running across the board shooting at me. And it was shooting the spike squad on an objective. And so I'm like, so it was just down to the attack bike was left, right? Mm-hmm. And what I did is I moved the attack bite out. I charged the Contemptor Dreadnought. So I moved it 14 inches, charged the Contemptor, like got another 8 to 10 inches, consolidated and piled in around it. and then use the Raven Wing stratagem to leave combat again and then go onto an objective that he had undefended to fucking pick up Stranglehold. And he was like, son of a bitch. And I'm like, don't tell me I can't do something.
Just fucking John Locke from Lost over there.
Yeah. Anyway, so it was that was an awesome game. John's a great opponent, and again, such a good player. He's way better than I am. So I always like playing against somebody like that. Like, I think I always learn something new. And I can kind of see where like they're able to exploit my mistakes, and like make the plays that I should have been more careful about. Like, it was like kind of stupid, careless model placement or worthless plays that I didn't need, like worthless risks that I took to make a play, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, now you know how I feel.
Is it?
Yeah, no, but no, it's always good to play someone better than you. You obviously learn a lot.
Oh yeah,
I learned a lot just watching the games there, so that was super cool.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. Ended up raising somewhere around $41,000 for Child's Play, which is why Danny and we're working on getting video set up. So hopefully next time you'll be able to see it. It's currently smooth as a baby's bottom.
Well, I'm getting rougher again, which is great. But yeah, I did shave off my beard. I told everybody on the stream that I would shave it off if we got to $40,000 for 40K. So, yeah, I did it.
Nick Nanavati said he would shave his head, and it reached over $40,000. I don't know if he remembers saying that, but
I don't think he was in any kind of state to keep that promise.
This Tuesday on Grim After Dark, I'll be sure to ask him about it.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
We are going to take a quick break. We are running very long. It's very nice not having any kind of constraints. But we're going to talk about real quickly about Warhammer Plus. I did some digging around there today, and man, is it phenomenal. But you know us, we're horrible GW shills who just suck the cock of corporate. So
always.
Of course we'd say that. And then a little bit about FLG stuff. Probably not a whole bunch, just some cool behind-the-scenes things. And then we'll go from there. But we are going to take a quick break and be right back.
Do you like cookies but want something more British? Buy biscuits. Not like those you have for gravy. British biscuits. For dunking in your British tea. Stiff upper lip guaranteed. Biscuits. As recommended by Queen Liz of the Britons.
Oh, and we're back. And just to point out, this is an ad. GW was kind enough to provide us with an early access copy to view Old Bailey a few days early before everyone else. Both Danny and I were very mature, great reviewers and did not watch it.
Of course.
Neither the early preview copy or the early preview copy, either of them. Today, I did sign up for Warhammer Plus.
I'm doing it as we're speaking right now.
As an awful shill, I signed up for the 1 year because I want my Vindicator Assassin 3 months early. And I watched a couple things. So I watched the first 2 Hammer and Bolter episodes. Not Old Bailey, which I think I'm just never going to watch out of shame. But Death's Hand, which was an amazing twisty-turny story about, and all of these are like 19 minutes long, by the way. That was the biggest surprise for me. I figured they'd be 10 minutes.
That's pretty good. That's a full-length episode.
But all of them are like full-length episodes. So I watched Death's Hand and then also Bound for Greatness. I was telling Danny a little before the show, and I'm going to do like 0 spoilers here because the service is just out here. But Bound for Greatness is one of the greatest animations I've watched this year. Like sci-fi fantasy style animations. It is really good. The music they do is great. There's a lot of repetition in there, which works out really well. It was so well done. And it makes me really excited for this series as a whole if it keeps up that kind of quality and imagination. And the differences between episode 1 and 2 are so stark, but amazing. I also watched one of the Citadel Color Masterclasses with Louise Sugden. She's one of the Warhammer TV presenters. She now presents this masterclass. What I learned from watching this episode today is she's very good at painting, and I am very not good at painting. It's one of the videos, they released 2 videos of the Citadel Color Masterclass today. There is an episode on painting faces, pale skin, and wet blending. Those are the 2 episodes that released today. The painting faces video is 20 minutes long and tells you how to paint one Space Marine head. There's a part where she goes over charts where there's like, this is the cool part, the warm part, and the like dark part of the face, and it's like split up into like, and you're gonna put this here and this here, and then she's using like the world's tiniest brush. So the funny thing for me, she was like, you might notice I have this attached to a flight stand. That's because I want as much control as possible, and that's why I'm not using the paint handle. So I'm like, hey, that's pretty good. I like that one. But the head comes out looking amazing. I cannot do that whatsoever. Like, I'm happy if this finds an audience, but when your first step is a mixture of like 70% Reichland skin and then 30% the Wraithbone, and like talking about it, just it's so up and above there. It's beautiful to watch. It's great to see. It looks amazing. But yeah, it's far and above and beyond my skill levels by far.
Well, interesting.
Yeah.
Like, so do you feel like that's pretty good value then?
I feel so. Because, well, I feel, I do feel, no, that I don't think I can get to the quality that she's putting out there. I think in a way, you know how sometimes your wife makes you watch cooking shows and you really appreciate what you're seeing in that cooking show and the dish that they're putting together. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go start making a cordon bleu. It's just you can kind of appreciate the process and what they're putting in there to kind of make it work. I did have a couple of battle reports I haven't been able to get through there yet. And then a bunch of how to plays as well as the trailers for all of their main games. So the cool cinematic trailers that have come up. You can't screenshot it. I've tried. There was a couple of really cool things I wanted to share from the Hammer Bolter. No, sirree. Can't do that. But in general, for $60 when you get a free character figure, you're already getting the Warhammer app if you're paying for that anyway. And then the old White Dwarf subscriptions, or the issues, which is in warhammerplus.com. I'm so excited to go through. I want to go back to White Dwarf 200. I want to go back to White Dwarf 184. Like all the fun ones. Like that's what gets me excited.
That sounds really cool.
Danny,
I'm excited to check out some old fantasy battle reports.
Hell yeah. That was a solid joke, because it's based in accuracy.
It's like, it's just true. I'm totally going to do that because I'm an awful shill for fantasy, and so I really want to. I really want to relive my glory days.
We're both old, so we remember when it came out. But seeing like the maps on the battle reports and the arrows, like just like someone did a square in Microsoft Word and then put like an arrow around it, like, oh yeah, those are those high elves moving. It just it lights something in you. And I'm excited to go back and check that. I want to go back and check out the worldwide campaigns that we're doing. So like the attack on Ekir 4, like I want to read all the articles about Ekir 4 again and all the other stuff. So being able to do that without like going to like my wife going, what are you doing? Like trying to buy a 20-year-old magazine on eBay, is really what pushed me over. Like the animations, I can take or leave. Well, after watching them, I can take or leave. But like what really sold me on it was the old White Dwarfs. Okay. Last thing.
All right. I signed up, John. I'm ready.
Beautiful. What a shill. We're at an hour 22. I think we got about 8 minutes in us. We announced a couple months ago that we were taking a little bit of a break, and we kind of have a reduced release schedule in this here show, because Papa Val Heffelfinger, the unanimous Frontline Gaming Network creative director, head of the Ocho, stream captain general, real name Herbert, by the way.
Herbert, yep. Hubert, if you will, if you're French.
I mean, I won't, and I'm not, so that's fine. But asked us if we would be interested on producing or working on some content with him for a show, which turned into Grim After Dark. It was a bizarre process, Danny.
It was.
But
it's good, right? Like it's definitely been a trip to go from kind of like, we'll record when we feel like it, like every 2 weeks, sometimes on some days, sometimes on not days, to like, you will have material, you will have it done this week. It's going to happen.
Tuesdays at 5:30. You better show up. You better know what you're going to be talking about. You have to have a guest lined up. It's like a trip to have all that. it's weird going from like where we started to where we are now, where like the kind of shows they were talking to us about doing are so vastly different. Like they were almost talking to us about doing like an intro to the game style review show where, you know, helping new players and things like that. And they're like, okay, we can maybe sort of get around it, but like, God bless Val. Like I think he helped us find our niche way better with what we've got.
Oh yeah, big time.
Big shout out to Alec Beals, longtime listener, first time caller.
Man, that background animation looks so cool. Like he did such a good job, or like the background image like is so awesome.
One of the things we told old Herb, old Val Heffelfinger, is that we wanted Beals to do the designing. Like this is what we want to say is like essentially is like we want to rip off Space Ghost, and many people have pointed that out. And Beals did such a good job designing that. There's so many in jokes in that picture. There is a monolith shadow. That's the obvious one in the background. The crates around me, they say things like BCP servers, and that's a reference to when they all crashed at LVO and we had to wait for 9 hours, which we get to have that in joke on Frontline's website, like every week. Great. We also have ITC 9th edition rule packet, do not use. And these are all things that got approved, which is bizarre. On my desk, my little animated desk, there's a bunch of water cups right there, which is also another very obvious reference to like shenanigans. And yeah,
I like the Null Oil spray.
Yeah, the Null Oil spray, and there's also the 50-gallon drum of Null Oil in the background too. So he's obviously seeing how I paint. I will say it's a little. The weird part for me, like when we're putting it together and what we're gonna do, like saying to Val, like, "Oh, I'm gonna go learn OBS." I was like, "Oh no, you'll have an editor or you'll have a producer." I'm like, "What? That's bizarre."
Right? Yeah.
So even though we show up weekly and like we have to create the jokes and do the content and thing, like
what do you mean I don't have to do all the work?
Exactly. It's so weird. And like we are one of like 2 shows in the network, like Val actually like personally produces. So the whole time we're talking, and this is how we know when we're doing good or not. So I super love this. This is Danny and I's measure of, are we being funny? Is the show any good? Because the entire time that we're talking, we can hear Val in our ear, so that way he can give us cues or be like, hey, move left, wrap it up, we need to go forward, like other producer, like big wig stuff. We can hear him like laughing his ass off in our ear. Yeah. And it's the most distracting, but the greatest thing ever.
It's pretty good to have a live audience laughing to your jokes. You always
live audience of one. What have been some of your highlights so far over the past few times?
Oh, God. All right. So that episode with Tim was just amazing. We just had like 2 episodes ago. I really liked that one.
We had an episode with Tim Penny, who we pulled on because we talked to him in Charity Hammer. This dude lives and breathes Warhammer. Like,
oh my God.
Everything he says. So I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, you're going to the GW Open, right? Yeah. It's like, come and talk to us about the terrain and the event in general. And it just degraded into making fun of Frontline Gaming's acronyms for their terrain system. Because so the Frontline is doing a thing for their events where they have player optimized terrain, where players place terrain in their own half. Like, and I was watching a Signals from the Frontline when Seth said those words. I'm like, dude, you realize that, Frontline wants pop. It's all about pop.
Yeah.
You're advocating for pop. And then someone in chat said something about poo. Like player optimized organization or something like that. So I think it devolved into like 15 minutes of me, you, and Tim talking about optimal pooping and how to bring like your pot and things like that. So that was a super good time.
Yeah, it was good. I also really, honestly, like I've really enjoyed some of the Taylor segments as well. Mm-hmm. I really like the one we did about the first Fabius Bio book.
Yeah.
Talking about the dude screamed so loud he blew up a planet.
Yeah,
pretty great.
I'm super happy that we were able to use this platform to put Taylor in a wider audience, because that dude
for sure
is just like a bundle of fun. Like, I think I told this story last night, but that's okay. I didn't tell it to the world or the listenership. We were at a Red Robin, which is like a little restaurant on Saturday after a tournament. and we were talking Warhammer, obviously. A couple of the guys.
Man. First of all, can I just say one thing
Yeah.
first? Like,
Yeah.
I miss that so much. I really wish I was there.
It was the best part. But a couple of the guys
Yeah.
brought their wives, and one of their wives was like, "Man, I'd like to talk about something other than Warhammer." Which fair. And Taylor leans over and yell whispers as only Taylor can. What the fuck do you want to talk about? You want to fucking talk about taxes? I'll talk about fucking taxes. Let's go. Like it was some kind of challenge. He was yelling so much about taxes that the couple in the table or the booth behind our table asked to be moved to a different section.
But I would say that's pretty typical.
Yeah, it's pretty typical. Well, it's a 10:30 p.m. on a Saturday night at Red Robin. What do you expect? It's Party Central.
Right.
I think for me, the biggest surprise has been people's reactions. Like people have been super positive.
Oh yeah.
Danny and I, for all our bravado, are actually very humble people and are very shocked and surprised.
Yeah. That people like us.
That people
and
like
our
us
stuff for some reason.
Yeah. So like viewership and listenership has been super positive coming back to us here. And then when our guests are like, I'm just happy you invited me on. Thank you for having me on. And I'm like, Tim, you're literally the co-host of all of the Art of War podcasts. And I'm like, this is a step down for you.
Yeah, what were you thinking?
Like, what the fuck? Yeah, so like it's bizarre, but it's very humbling. It's very good. And I'm glad that I have an excuse. Well, I have a mandated excuse once a week to hang out with my friend and talk about Warhammer.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. It's one of my favorite times of the week.
Yes, it's super good. And then of course, it's not just us. Again, Val Heffelfinger, good old Herb. He produces the show live weekly, so all those cuts, all those camera changes, all those close-up, that's all Val. That's all stuff he's doing, and he does an amazing job of it. He sets everything up for us. And then Tyler Bortle is our editor. If you haven't had a chance to go back and watch the video version, the edited video version is one of my favorite things. Tyler is so goddamn funny. Like yesterday we were talking.
He gave me back a beard.
He edited Danny's beard back on his face. And we don't give him any direction. The only direction I've given him is just do what you want. If you think it's funny, do it. I made a point because last night we had on a Tanner Herbert, who everyone calls Herbert because that's how it's spelled. So I was like, I'm going to make a point to make sure we call him Herbert. And he edited that to me just saying Herbert. And I don't know how he did that. Perfectly. You can't even tell. I don't know how he did that. And yeah, he adds so much. My other favorite memory, looking back at the video, there was a time we were doing things and Val pressed the wrong button while producing and deleted half the set. Like the couch and stuff disappeared. So instead of editing that and fixing it, he literally just put words on the screen that says couch. I'm sick of fixing this shit.
Oh, so good, dude.
Yeah, and then we have just a bunch like the FLG and style guide has turned into a really good recurring bit.
That was a good one.
Me hitting on Black Templars, I'm turning into a recurring bit. Like I'm forcing that one through like the Nanavati line cutting, but I'm having.
Yeah, but you don't have to try that hard. I know how you actually feel about Black Templars.
And then I think we're gonna move to like I really want to move to some deep fakes of like the idea of just Henry Cavill has trash Warhammer opinions just because he's so beloved by the community because like he's obviously a fan. He read the books, he wears the clothes and things like that. But if I could just have like a deepfake video of Henry Cavill saying submarining is a legitimate tactic in a tournament format.
Dude, can we do a Black Library like authors meeting where they're talking about their ideas for their next novel and like it's like Dan Abnett and ADV and like Gab Thorpe. We can just deepfake all their faces. It's perfect.
Yes. Oh, dude. Okay. Yeah, I will put that together and send it to Val. That's great. So many in-jokes. Like one of the authors would be like, "This is a shut up. Your book's gone. No Siege of Terra. We're going to replace it with this one." But in jokes aside, we want to thank you everyone for all of their love and support over the years we've been doing this. We've been doing Grimm. If you haven't checked out Grimm, please check it out. It is fantastic. Fuck, we can't swear in it, but fuck does that mean we swear in this one. Hell yeah. We're going to be back. We will be back. It'll be sooner than the length of time we've left.
Sorry, guys. This like the last couple of months have been extremely busy for both of us, and so like as much as we want to like do this, like I like both of us, especially me. Like you can blame me if you want to. John, don't blame John. John is innocent for once. And
no, I'm not, because I made several large life-changing decisions today that are terrifying and great, and will probably affect. So yeah,
dude.
I'll be the next few months.
Okay, well we'll make it work again. Hey, on the plus side, you might have more free time.
Oh heck yeah, that's the terrifying part. But now, Danny, I finally get to do this. Like I did this the other day, and Herb Halfelfinger was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh shit, I did the Marlboros outro. I'm so sorry. Won't happen again." Thank you so much. Check out Warhammer Plus. It is fantastic. Check out some of the great shows on the Frontline Gaming Network. Do not watch Signals on the Frontline. Seth is a trash man. Let's wrap this up.
He's the trash man.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's the garbage. I had to cut it off because you threw the old Danny DeVito reference in there.
Sorry.
It's not a mob rules if I don't fuck up the ending at least once. But on that note, for Mob Rules, I've been John.
And Danny.
And we'll be back soon.